fastest and most effective path. Leasing is your shortcut, okay? So the lease is the fast track, and the buy is the long road. You know, so you can take the road that goes straight through, or you can take the scenic route. And the buy is by far definitely the scenic route. Lease is the shortcut. So my recommendation to you, from a guy who barely graduated high school, okay, I was a smart student, but intrigued by school. It didn't excite me. I didn't like sitting there and listening to 6 different people tell me stuff all day long that I wasn't really interested in. And my dad was really successful in the car business, so I always kind of had that in my back pocket, like, Dad makes good money, and he drives nice cars, and we live in a nice house. Like, I can always do that, you know, like, you know, what do I need to go to school for? But, and as a dealership brat, I mean, I was in car dealership since I was a little kid. My stepdad was a service manager too. By watching what the best did, super successful, is no other than what I preach, leasing. And like I said, when I went to that store, Varsity Ford, when I was at Briarwood Ford, I probably did 70% new, 30% used. When I went to Varsity, it was more like kind of newer used. I only sold used to, if your son was looking for a car or something like that, or your cousin, you know, like only repeats and that type of thing. We didn't take used ups. But I looked at my partner, and I was always just couldn't quite catch up with them. And I looked, and he was doing like 80% leasing. I was doing like 50% because I still had like that buy was the value for me. You know, I thought the buy was the value for the customer. And once I got on the bandwagon of leasing, that's how I got past them. Because like Tiffany said, she has 12 leases coming due a month, and she's going to probably get 90% of that. That when you have that repeat business coming back, it's easy, gravy business, it makes it a lot easier to retain than going in and how many times do you give a customer what they want for their trade? Who's for their trade? Never. Never. They're never going to get a, yeah, every once in a while because the other dealer tried lowballing them, and you know, but rarely, or Kelly Blue Book was off because the numbers haven't caught up yet or something like that, but rarely do you give a customer what they want for their trade. It's taking the biggest obstacles, objections, roadblocks, and issues that we deal with in every deal. Leasing is by far the best way. That's how I did what I did. That's how I was able to do what I do. So if you want the life you desire, go for it. You know, that's what I love about commission sales. I worked with this guy. He was dying of cancer. He was my dad's friend since I was a kid. And he goes, you know, I could never imagine working at a job where you knew what you were going to make. He's like, I just couldn't handle it. He's like, that's why I love car sales. You know, you don't know what you're going to make. It's up to you. You've got the opportunity. You've got all the tools there. You get out of it what you put into it. And, I mean, you can make a lot of money in this business. That's kind of a little snapshot of like our last year there. Lots of fun times. So the way to success is work smarter and not harder. Harder fell out there. But leasing is the shortcut. Buys the long way. Leasing saves the customer $22,000 over 10 years on average. And that's me, Noel Walsh, Conquer What You Chase sales training. 3,000 cars sold, $2 million in commissions, 18 years in the business overall. And I did it with customer satisfaction, building relationships, being honest, having integrity, taking care of the customer, but not spoiling them too. There's a difference between taking care of a customer and spoiling a customer. I remember my manager would come in and do a TO, and he would say, hey, if you ever have a problem, you know, Noel will pick your car up and he'll drop it off and we'll get, I'm like, no, I won't do that, I'm busy. Like, you know, I'll have the porter do it and that type of thing, but you know what, every time I picked up a customer's car, and I'm not saying not do those things, and I did do those things for certain people, but they get a scratch in it, now whose problem is that? Now it's your problem that the scratch that was there 3 weeks ago that they never noticed, but now they're doing the walk around because you had their car for 3 hours, doing them a favor. They're looking around. So I would leave it up to the porters, but I didn't overpromise because then those were the same people that would call you. And I remember I had this lady, example, sweet lady, sold her a couple vehicles. And so they came in on a 2013 Escape when they came out with the new Escape body style. And we didn't have any in stock. And she's like, I'm only getting a 13, I'm only getting a 13. We closed at 5, it was like 3:30. Okay, I wanted a sale that day. By 5:30, they were leaving in the 2012 Escape. Because I built value, gave a dynamite presentation, and I'm like, hey, I'll throw in a remote start that was built in, but I'll throw in a remote start. And so, and she's like, okay, well, you know, and I'm like, we can't do it today. It takes 2.5, 3 hours. But what I do is, you work at Thetford, it's on my way into work. So what I'll do, Ford has that cool keypad. I'm like, I've got your door code here, just leave your keys in the center console. I'll swing by, here's the door code for my car, just in case you need to go to lunch. Oh, I ate lunch in my office. I picked it up, got the remote start in, 2 hours later, dropped it off, put the keys in like nothing ever happened. She called me 2 days later, hey Noel, you need to come pick this car up. I go, why is that? She goes, this remote start doesn't work. And Ford had kind of like a tacky remote start, like you had to like hold it for 2 seconds and let off and hold it again. And like anybody over, not being age offensive, but anybody over like 55 could never figure it out. You know, they're always like, this doesn't work, you know, because they'd hit it too fast and everything. So I'm like, no, you're just doing it wrong. I'm like, you got nope. She's like, nope, it doesn't work. You need to come pick it up right now. And she's like, demand, you know, so it's like, I did you a favor. Now you're like acting like I'm like your porter. You know, it's like, no. So I did that and I said, no, you know what? You're 5 miles down the road. I'm super busy today. Come in, grab me. If I'm 2 or 3 customers deep, I'll take 5 or 10 minutes, you know, to walk away from them. Sure enough, I went 1001, 1002, let off. 1001, 1002, let off. Oh, okay. So once again, you don't want to overspoil them. You know, you want to take good care of people, but it's just like your kids. You don't want to give them everything. You want to give them a good life, but you don't want to give them everything. So don't overspoil them. And I mean, had a great career in selling. You can do it. I mean, I worked for 20 months. I worked only the last 2 weeks of the month because I built that addicted audience. And when you have that addicted audience, people will come back to you and they'll want to see you and they'll tell your friends about you. And really, I was talking to these guys, you know, it's good to pay for referrals, but if you get that addicted audience, they just want to send people to you, knowing that you'll take care of them. Because, like, especially with guys, who loves being like, oh, I got a guy. Like bowling league? You know, they're like, hey, yeah, we're going to go car shopping this week. Oh, I got a guy. Oh, he's the best ever. So you want to be that guy, but you want to be the guy when they meet next week at bowling. They're like, hey, Ed, thank you so much for sending me Noel Walsh, man. This guy is on, just like you said. You don't want to be that guy that's like, hey, you sent me, thanks, Ed. You sent me to see Noel Walsh, and I waited for 3 hours. And then he kicked me to this kid that didn't know anything, and they pulled up the wrong car, and we sat there for 3 hours, so we went down the street and bought a Chevy. Thanks, dude. I appreciate it. You know, so you want to create that presence in everybody and take care of every customer you have. And do I have any questions on leasing? Please fire them at me.
I just messaged you on Facebook because I can't quite read all that from back here because I'm old. Would you mind forwarding that?
No, absolutely. I'll email it to you.
Same here.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. So everybody,
Plus I can show it to people.
I'll give you my card and I'll email you or Facebook message you the slideshow. I already got your card. So most definitely, yeah. Facebook message me on there, everybody who's connected with me, so that'll be easier than going through the cards and figuring out who I owe what. Yes.
We do a lot of 36 month, not 24. Is there?
36 is still good. 36 is usually cheaper. And really, you know, that was kind of like a little bit of an older graph there, but and where we were at in Michigan, the 24 lease worked out a lot because of the employee discounts. But most people are doing 72 months anyways, so you just break it down the same for 36.
Okay.
You know, so you just break it down the same for 36. And two, another thing, in fact, I've got some stuff too, I meant to hand it out, and we kind of had a talk about how we were going to do the schedule. But I've got like some letters and stuff like that. I would start going after my 2-year customers at 14, 16, 18 months with mail. And my 36-month customers at 22, 24, 26, 28 months with mail. They call in, and I'm sending the letter, and everybody's like, why would you do that? Like, you're just going to piss them off. No, I was talking to these guys about it. You're not going to piss them off because you just, hey, Sarah, how are you? Yeah. So what do you think? Well, I got your letter. It says I can get out early. We've got a great program going on right now that I can help like 8 out of 10 customers. Not everybody qualifies. What are you thinking of getting into on this vehicle, Sarah? Well, I want to upgrade to the full-size SUV this time. Okay, perfect. How's the 12,000 miles a year working for you? Oh, that works out fine. Actually, I'm under. I could probably actually do 10,000 this one. Okay, terrific. Are you going to put any money down on this lease? Yeah, I'm working with a couple thousand. All right, perfect. Let me see. Get an idea of what the trade's worth to what the payoff is. And if they're going to go from 500 to 550 on a bigger vehicle, Sarah, come on in. We can make this happen. And then I'll actually get it officially appraised. But if they're going to go from 500 to 750 and they told me they want to be at the same payment or lower their payment, hey, Sarah, you know what? Right now just isn't the time. But now I've got you on my radar, so I'll keep you in mind if something comes up. I'm going to continue to mail you And don't think that it's because I'm trying to trick you, because circumstances change all the time, and I don't know all the circumstances on your car. So I'd appreciate it if you'd at least give me the call, and at the very least, all it does is take 10 minutes out of our time. Is that fair? Boom. You're getting them calling back. Once again, when they think of a vehicle, they think of you. Anybody?
Question for you.
Yes.
Money down, are you a big,
I try to stay away from money down as much as possible. Reason being, just like when you have when we have like a $200 lease on a Fusion, I hated it because I knew that that wasn't going to be around forever. So now they come back and the lease payment's $350, and so now all of a sudden you're the jerk, right? Like, hey, oh, I see how you guys do it. You know, you rope me in with the $200 payment. Now I'm at $350. Oh, yep, I knew car dealers were that way. So I was always like, you know, of course I'd sell as many as I could, but I'm like, oh, this is going to be fun in 2 or 3 years. Same thing with money down. Or if somebody has a trade-in, and even if you tell them it, like, hey, you've got a trade-in that's worth $7,000. That's why you're leasing this $50,000 vehicle for $240 a month. Oh, okay, this is the greatest thing ever. You know, then they sign it, then they come back and the payment's $600. Oh man, these car guys, it's just like MSN said, you know, and Edmonds and Kelly and all this stuff. So I try to stay away from money down on the lease, because if you get them comfortable with the $350 payment, it's easy to take them to $375 or $400. If you get them comfortable with the $200 payment, it's hard to take them to $250. You know, so I try to stay away from money down. I mean, sometimes they need it for finance reasons or that type of thing, or they're just that type of customer. But I tried to stay away from money down because I wanted that payment as high as they were comfortable with, because depending on the next program, people always associate their next vehicle with what they had last time. You know, that's how we associate everything, is what we're familiar with. So I stay away from money down. Any other questions? Somebody's got one more. Somebody fire away.
I mean, the factory advertises that work for Ford dealer too. They advertise that no lease all the time. And then when they get there, they realize it's $3,000 more plus tax and down.
And, you know, I would always break that down to, hey, you know what? I was shown that I could buy a $300,000 house for $1,000 a month.
yeah.
And unfortunately, it's just the way advertising is nowadays, folks. You can get this payment. You've got to qualify for all these factors. And guess what? I don't qualify for it either. You know, show a little empathy there. And you got to break it on the marketplace too. Like, people come in and say, oh, your car dealers do that. So does the furniture store. So does everybody advertises that way. And you've got to put that in front of them and just not like accept it like, oh, well, it's not my fault, it's just the way we do things. Just say, hey folks, unfortunately some guy invented this like in the 40s. Like, this is how you advertise. And so this is how everybody advertises. And it's just the way it is. And believe me, I wanted that $300,000 house for $1,000 a month, but when it was $2,300, it was out of my budget. You know, so it's the same way everybody else does. Credit cards are 1.9 for the first week. You know, I mean, everybody advertises that way. I always say, folks, the devil's in the details. Whenever I see something too good to be true, I bring out the magnifying glass and I go to the fine print. It's the same thing everybody else does. So you gotta brush that off like, oh, it's my fault, or I did this. You just gotta do it in a cool, fun way that makes sense to them. But I always give an example of everything. Give an example, share a story, and you create a, you know, affiliation.
Well, the housing market, the way they do it, is interest on the loans.
Well, right. But I mean, they still advertise you can get a mortgage for 1.9, and it's a 30-day arm, and then it goes up to, you know, I mean, everybody advertises.
Or you gotta have $50,000 sitting in the bank account.
Exactly, right. I mean,
$50,000 line of credit and a
TV does it. You know, yeah, you can get this 48-inch Sony for $199, and it's like 10 pixels. You know, so I mean, everybody does the one you want that has the clear screen that they've got up front. You know, 5,000 pixels or whatever. I mean, everybody does the same thing, and you just got to break it with the story, how you dealt with it in a comparison to how other markets do.
against other dealers' ads that'll do like a $59 lease with $6,000 down or something.
Right.
And so
Right.
I've had good luck with just pulling up their website and like scroll down to the fine print.
Break it
Here,
down.
let's just do the math. 6,000 divided by 36 months is about this much. We're all in the same thing. It's the same program from the factory.
Right, just like when somebody comes in with the Kelly Blue Book, you know, like, hey, it's worth $8,900. Well, it's not a limited, it's a base model, and you don't have to move, you know, just because all the buttons are there and you click them doesn't mean, you know, that's, you know, you just got to kind of like sit there with them and break it down. And it's like, I got the same Kelly Blue Book here. Let's, do it together. I mean, and break it down. Yeah, same thing with the lease. It's like, hey, you know what? My lease is $69 with $6,000 down, but I've got leather and the moonroof and power seat and all these features. So you just gotta, rather than getting intimidated by it and being defensive, you just gotta embrace it and say, let's figure this out together. We're all working off the same things.
I got a question.
Yes.
Is the lease payment on 36 month always flat over the 36 months?
Yes. The payment's always the same.
Has anybody ever conceived of doing a step payment over time?
Is it legal in most states?
Some states had, Ford had for a while, they called it the flex buy, which it was like a 66-month loan if you've been in the business for a while. We did like 0.25% of our business was that. I mean, like nobody got it because you'd get these special rebates, and so your first 36 months, your payment was $300, and then your last 30 payments went up to $350. But no, it's a set price on the lease. Everything's set right there. I mean, if you're using the manufacturers, they've got a pretty tight structure on their leases, and there's no gimmicks. Some of these other banks, third-party banks, and that will have like balloon leases to where they've got to buy it out at the end, and that's what they do on a lot of commercial and everything. But no, leasing, if your payment's $281, it's 73 cents. It's $281 and 73 for the whole time.
Here's the question: if you're obligated for 36 months at $500 a month,
Right.
there's no difference in that versus 400 for 12 months, 500 and 600 for
Right.
12 months.
Exactly.
It's the same obligation,
Exactly.
but they would frown about that step to the price.
Yes, they would, and I think that would be considered like a predatory lending and advertising. I mean, I'm by no means a bank specialist, but yeah, no, they've got that payment, and if people say, well, you can't get out of your lease early, well, can you get out of your buy early? If you want to get out of your 3-year lease because you lose your job after a year, can you? Well, you got to pay the difference.
One-day guarantee payment, yeah.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, you can do that.
Program.
Well, same thing with your buy. If you did the zero down buy on a
That's it.
72-month loan and you owe 35 and it's worth 25, you can't just, oh, here's the keys.
Right, so
We appreciate it, but I lost my job, man. I'll come back and see you when I find another one. I mean, it's the same difference, and that's what you just got to get their mindset on, is build the value that it's really the same difference. It's for the customer and for the salesperson, it's the biggest benefit. Did you have a question?
Yeah. Use an example as a 36-month lease, and you start to hit them at 18 months out. Look the numbers over, you're not right where they need to be, but you're not far off. What was other than mailers, was there some way that you're like, man, that 6 more payments are, an escape to an Explorer customer, that Explorer comes out with a $2,000 rebate 3 months from now? Is there did you basically use have something in CRM, or did you have was it just memory, or?
I was that old school gunslinger guy that was like memory.
Okay.
There is CRM in there, and I wish I would have taken more advantage of CRM and put notes in there. But I would do it all by memory and then keep the customer. But I keep mailing them too. I still mail them that same, and I tell them I'm going to mail you again. And let them know that. But I would always still run the numbers. Like if there's only like $2,000 negative, I'd say, hey, I can't completely pull you out of your lease,
Sure.
but with the current incentives, I can make it that you aren't paying anything out of pocket, and you're paying $325 for your escape. I can put you in the Explorer, which has a dynamite program right now for $375.
Right.
Or I can say I can keep you close, because I never give numbers over the phone, but I say I can keep you close. Now, if they're going to go up to $650, hey, now's not the time, and I give them a reason why. Because nope, doesn't work. Because then you pissed them off because you went after them. And then you didn't deliver, but you said, hey, I'm glad you called, so now I know, and I know this. Well, you had a fresh conversation with them, so now next time they're at bowling league,
Yeah.
and their buddy's like, hey, I'm thinking of getting out of my Silverado, and I was going to look at an F-150. Oh, dude, you got to see my guy, Noel Walsh, man. He's the man. I guarantee he'll have 2 or 3 customers at his desk, but dude, he's worth the wait. Like, guarantee. Call him up, he'll set it up, he'll do like everything. Super quick and simple. He's effective. He's professional, he knows the product, and he'll work at your speed. And that's the guy you want to be. One more.
I've only been doing this for like 2 months now. What's your advice for like the newbies, and what's your best advice?
My best advice is go after as many orphan customers as you can. Go after as many service orphan customers as you can. Join some kind of league, even if you don't like bowling leagues, softball. Try and get your dealership to sponsor that team, maybe even build a team. Get active in it. If you go to church, your neighborhood, apartment complex, put your business cards everywhere. Just start throwing your name out there as fast as you can. Wear your company shirt all the time, and just get out there, get seen, get known, and just hustle, hustle, hustle. But like I always tell people, if you live in an apartment complex and there's like 3,000 units, I'd put together like a monthly newsletter and pop it in the mailbox or send it out to them or do a postcard. Like, hey, I'm new in the neighborhood and I'm starting my career in car sales. I just had a call with the guy the other day. I said, set it up this way. Hey, I'm refreshed, because he's like, well, I think I tell people I'm 6 months in the business, and especially these middle-aged guys, they want to take advantage of me and this, and that. And I go, no, here's what you do. You break it down. Hey, yeah, I know I've only been in the business 6 months, but you started somewhere, right? Yeah. Okay, well, here, I'm a fresh college grad, and car sales was the last thing I thought I wanted to do when I graduated college. But you know what? I interviewed at 12 different companies. Lots of them were big corporations and prestigious positions. But I loved the culture, the way the dealership cared about their employees, the way the dealership cared about their customers, and how much inventory they provide. If you hit them with that, boom, they're done. I 12 different companies I interviewed at. Lots of them were prestigious positions, corporations. You hit them with that, now all of a sudden the new kid is like, I want to help this kid grow. Like, you started out somewhere, right? Well, yeah, everybody started out somewhere. You build that story and build that, alliance with them. If you do that with every customer, you're going to get to that 12A addiction a lot quicker than anything else. But yeah, just go out there, get your name out there. Apartment complex is the best place. Get as many leads as you can from service, orphans. If you can work the service department, we can talk about a couple other ideas that I have too. But just get out there, get your name out there. Like I said, even if you don't like playing sports or something like that, create some video game league where you get people and your name's, the Chevy car dude of, Bayer Chevy car, or whatever, just get your name out there, get a brand out there, and then get stuff out to people too. Like do like a 30-day mailer. Out of those 3,000, you're going to piss off 2,900 of them. A lot of them are going to buy from you. They'll be like, this dude is so annoying, but guess what? They'll remember you. Hey, you know a car guy? Everybody loves knowing that guy. Oh, yeah, there's this guy who lives in my complex. I think I got this newsletter here. Here you go, and you can just throw some specials on there or a story that's in the newspaper online about your product. It doesn't, cut and paste. You don't have to, figure out a whole bunch of stuff. There's going to be information out there that you can use. Part of your ad, put a little bio in there about yourself, what you've been up to. I always talk about my family, but I'm like, people, well, what if I don't have a family? Do you have a dog? Do you go on vacations? Will you playing find something, because people are like, oh yeah, she's a dog lover. Oh yeah, he's a family guy. Oh yeah, he's a game. Get a brand. That's what everybody's talking about. I was on a conference call for 2 hours the other night with a 7-figure income earner, and she's like, get your brand out there. Get your brand out there, let people know who you are and what you do. And once you create that brand recognition, it's no different than a billboard. People drive by every day.
Thank you.
All right.